Bum, 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 ba-da-doo-doo. All right. Everybody get in here. Right, here we go. Improv, ask me anything. I ask the most fun part of Ask Me Anything about improv. And any of these is watching me set up the connection to live stream. All right, so we go. Bada boom. Let's see. Yes, folks, this is it. Ask me anything about improv. It's good to see everyone. So let me take a look here at what we've got. Okay, hi everyone. Ask me anything about improv right now. You can go ahead if you're watching this on Facebook as it's happening. You can put some questions you have in the chat. I wanted to say first off, congratulations to Mr. David Escobedo and Monica Escobedo as they are waiting the arrival of a child. They're going to have a child together, which is unbelievable. Great news. And this follows on the heels of the huge landmark success of Everyone Get In Here Improv Festival. What a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to watch just what's been happening in this improv ecosystem just flourish and grow. It was a team effort by Socially Distant Improv, the Black Improv Alliance, Will Laura, the Improv Boost, Huge Theater, Improv Milwaukee, or Improv MKE, Michelle Gilliam, the Lancaster Improv Players, and Queen City Comedy. Just did such a tremendous job in amplifying some voices that really need to be amplified right there. So yeah, so that is something that yeah, we're very, very, very excited about. The Everybody Get In Here festival. So shout out to them and so many great. I mean, recognizing so many wonderful people, so many great talents that. So it was really nice to watch that. So congratulations to everyone involved. Stephen Whittle, good to see you, my friend. Put in a chat right here. Who uh, who inspired you? Well, Steve, thank you for that question, Mr. Whittle. You know why my mom and dad inspired me. Some of my comedy mentors growing up definitely were people like Ernie Kovacs. I think was amazing. Someone like Gilda Radner, I think was like super fearless. Carol Burnett had a huge impact on my comedy career. Stephen Martin as well. Um, but then I get inspired. Honestly, I get inspired by people I work with, people I've learned from, and people who I've taught also inspire me. And so watching any collective come together is very inspiring. I like, somebody like John Wooden, who is was an American college basketball coach, led the University of California, Los Angeles to many, I don't know, 10 titles in his time there in a short amount of time, and just brilliant. But he really emphasized the importance of teamwork. So that was very inspiring to me. I think people who take an improv class for the first time are truly inspiring. I think people who are so scared to get in there and take a class, I think they're very inspiring as well. So I think those are some inspiring people to me. Recently, someone who's inspired me is Stacey Abrams and what she's done to basically change one of the states in America, Georgia, to flip it to blue, which is Democrat, from a red state into now there are two senators out of Georgia, both Democrats, in the Senate. which is truly inspiring. So I think those are some things that inspire me. You know, my significant other inspires me on a constant daily basis, um, which is, you know, when you live with someone who's inspiring and somebody who's supportive, just like that person is, they're very supportive to me and to what I do. That is cause for a huge amount of inspiration, and definitely, you know, proves the point that there are many improvisers who have never taken a class, never will get on stage, never had the desire, but have that mindset of an improviser. So yeah, so those are some inspiring people to me. Assad, Assad Khan, good to see you. Because I'm here, everything's gonna be okay. Yeah, Assad, part of that Everyone Get In Here festival. I mean, that was truly just such a never before seen thing in improv. In the fact that you had people who were of color, you had uh, people who, you know, identified as women, as female. They were leading the charge. And to me, that is a great title. Everyone Get In Here. And I believe that's the case, and we should make it room for everyone to get in and be a part of that. You know, Jess, who deals with like, you know, I know Jess at Glossip Improv, and she has MS, but she's also dealing with, you know, brain fog in people, right? So unseen conditions in the improv community, a big part of that as well. So there are a lot of things that we're doing, I feel like, right, as an improv ecosystem, and definitely that festival was the a step in the right direction. That was really great. Um, Amy, were you the blank winner? No, I'm not a blank winner. Oh, there's an award, right? It's the blank award. Amy says, were you the blank winner? I did not win. No. So, um, but I think that's your question. Yeah. But they gave David and the festival gave award at the end, and the blank winner were for everyone who was involved in improv. So I guess in a way, yes, because I'm involved in improv, but I think it's more of a group. And I think that was such a great example. This award that was called the blank award, so nobody's name was on it. It didn't recognize anyone, and it was given to everyone. So yes, in that sense, we all are winners of that. Um, Javier, you are the man as well, buddy. Thank you for tuning in. Good to see you. Stephen, my folks were funny. They were definitely in different, uh, two different types of funny, in different ways. My dad, he would wake me up on Sunday nights to watch on the public television, watch Ernie Kovac's show or Faulty Towers or My Two Ronnies or these comedies from the BBC, right? And he would wake me up and I would laugh. Sometimes I understood it. Sometimes I would look and just laugh because he was laughing. But I remember talking to my dad and mom once I graduated university. I went, started taking classes at with improv and sketch, and I was like, oh, I think I want to do this. I don't know if you can make a living. I want to do it. And I remember talking to my dad about it, and he said, I don't care if you dig a ditch as long as you're happy. Like, and my mom's only comment was, because I had started taking classes my last semester when I was at school. She goes, I just want you to get your degree. So they were very supportive of me as well. So I was very lucky in that situation. And my dad they would both come to see my shows all the time. I was doing a show at the Second City Northwest in the suburbs of Chicago. And I was living, this was just out of when I just graduated. So I was living with my parents in the southeast suburbs of Chicago, about 30 miles south of the city. So the drive could be anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half because of traffic to go from where I was living to the theater. And every Monday night we had a show, and my parents would come out every Monday night, which was great. But I remember my dad, I'd ask him after the show, I'm like, Dad, what do you think of the show? He goes, I've seen it. And it's like, this was when I was doing mostly improv shows. So I'm like, well, I mean, you've seen maybe some of the games, but the shows are different. But they were very supportive. And so I was very lucky in that instance. They never told me I shouldn't do it. They never were like, it's tough. They were like, if you're happy, we support it. So yeah. But they were very funny. My dad, especially, my dad was very much a uh, pun guy and dad joke guy. He said, yeah, one of his favorite jokes was, saw a head floating down a river, a human head floating down the river, singing, "I ain't got no body, and he loved that. He loved doing puns. He loved doing play on words, and being silly, and it was great. So yes, I think they were both very funny and had oddball senses of humor, which I loved. Who is the most Azad? Who is the most famous person you performed with? Oh, that I've performed with. Who is the most? Well, I mean, I've performed. I did a thing with Indra Nooyi, who was the CEO of PepsiCo, and at one point the fourth most powerful woman in the world. Um, I think according to Forbes. So that's it. We did like an American Idol thing, and she was one of the judges, and I was like the host of it. So she's the most famous person I think I performed with. I think it would be her because she was known by so many people. Introduced Pepsi into India, was the leader of that corporation. So maybe that. I've done stuff with, in a show with like, I don't know, Ryan Seacrest, but I don't know if that's the most famous person. I've done things with, I did a gig with Kay Cannon, who wrote Pitch Perfect. So she's, I think, somewhat known, but yeah, I think that's maybe it. I would have to also think too, because it's like, what's your definition of what famous is? Do you mean like entertainer famous, or do you mean just like a famous person? Because again, if it's a famous person, then Indra Nooyi, I mean, she's pretty famous, in that sense, but she's not a performer. Very inspiring person. I remember watching and listening to her, and it's like, oh yeah, she's very inspiring. But I think that's probably the one who most people would know, I think. But let me think about that. Um, Tracy, how the hell do you keep that great head of hair? Tracy, you get me. I mean, it's all camera angles too. See, I've chosen to shave the, I call it the monk. I've chosen to shave this part of my head bald right there. But that's just a stylistic choice. Oh, Tracy, and thank you. Thank you for that. That's very kind of you. Oh, Talia, hi. You went in our hearts. Hi, Talia. It's good to see you. Um, Talia is involved. My friend Spencer is doing this improv. It's a Greek, I think, dinner type themed improv show, and he's based in LA, and Talia's Greek, and so I asked him if he's looking for improvisers. So if you're an improviser who's also Greek, send me a message and I'll connect you, because I think Spencer might be looking for a couple more people, and he's doing a virtual show right there. Yeah, exactly, Steve. Stephen Whittle, Faulty Towers is my all-time favorite uh, sitcom. I just think it's just so funny. Tyrone, have you seen any unique forms coming from Zoom improv or unexpected evolutions in improv from online play? Oh, absolutely. And I made an announcement last week, or last time I did this. My focus moving forward is going to be on virtual improv. Even when the pandemic subsides, I'm going to, for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be only doing Zoom improv. And even if like the restrictions are lifted and we get back in person where we can do classes, in front of other people in a classroom setting, I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to continue to work on doing online improv. And several reasons. One is, I want everyone to be able to take an improv class, and whether you have issues with, restricted mobility, or you just don't want to be around other people, or you find yourself shut in, or you're in an area in the world where you can't easily get to improv classes, right? Like you don't live in a Chicago, you don't live in a London, right? You don't live in a you know, um, Bangalore or a Mumbai or any place like that where it's easier to get to improv. I want to bring improv to you. So yes, but I do think there are so many evolutions that are happening right now. I think the Hideout Theater in Austin is doing great work like that. Queen City Comedy, and Carla is leading the way with doing that. I think Keith Williams, in with Better with Improv, is doing a ton of stuff on TikTok, and Bill Cott, my buddy as well. I think they're both utilizing TikTok a lot for improv, and I think that's another avenue that we can explore, is to do that. I do think, it's Jeff at the American. He's teaching. He not teaching. He's doing like audio improv. He's bringing that back right now. Jeff Ringgold, and so he's leading the way, and Chris and those folks are leading the way right there. Um, and so it's the American Improv Theater, and I think they're really pushing the boundaries right there. But I think playback theater as well, and I'm familiar with the one out of um, in Bangalore, what they do, and I think they're pushing this. So I think it's just a matter of continuing to evolve and push things forward. So I think also like Roy down at the Hideout, he's looking. Sarah Davies also, they're looking at improv as far as what can be done with like augmented reality. Chris Mead and Katie Shute have a place called the Improv Place, which is only dedicated to pushing the boundaries in online improv. So I think there's a bunch of things that are happening right now. I think Michelle Gilliam is doing a lot of great work at Improv MKE. But I definitely see a lot of things popping up. Like I see Carla Dingle through Queen City Comedy, a lot of costumes and props and things like that. So I'm very excited about to see where things are going and how we can use this technology as well. I think it's huge. Uh, so yeah, and if also in the chat, can you put in if you've seen any things coming from Zoom Improv or unexpected evolutions in improv from online play? Please feel free to put that in right there as we go. Now let's see what is the other one here. Assad, let's settle this once for all in montages. Oh, I love it. In montages, once a scene was swept, can these subsequent scenes have references to that scene? Yeah, why not? Not talking about callbacks, but character story. Oh, dude, yeah, that's the great thing about improv, right? Anything can happen. So my general answer, Assad, is going to be yeah, for sure. Why not? Once it's, I mean, you might want, it might be the agreement of the group that you don't do that, but like, can the subsequent scenes have references to that scene? Sure. In fact, I'm always looking for connections, and humans are pattern recognition machines, and they're looking for connections, and your audience will make connections you don't even see. So they'll even think, oh, the character you're in the scene now, it's the same one as the scene that just happened. Like they'll think that, whether we say it or not. So yeah, I'm not sure. I love it. I'm like, I'm not sure why that needs to be settled, but I'm not the barometer. I'm not the judge of settling because I say it. This is just a personal thing for me. It's like I don't know. I think it can, but some people obviously have strong opinions that it can't happen. So I mean, that's up to you, your group, really. And if you're in a group with people who say no, absolutely not, and you're somebody who goes, yeah, absolutely, well, then just find a group that says yeah, absolutely, rather than being in a group that says no, absolutely not. Right? Just find that group you want to play with. Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte. Speaking of someone who's had a huge impact on improv, Charlotte is a great improviser, also does behind the scenes and tech stuff too. So I think she teaches a class about that. Charlotte, Brianne Brown, if you could create an improv show inspired by your favorite pop culture thing, what would it be? Beastie Boys. Beastie Boys. I mean, that's my hands down. Beastie Boys. I love Paul's Boutique, and I do have a show in mind about that. It's more of a scripted show, but I think definitely like they're my favorite pop culture thing. So I think that would definitely be it. Uh, I also think like anything that's stylized or a genre, I think would be real fun to kind of create that. I also think there's a pop culture thing happening now that's just like um, different uh, formats as far as like Instagram or TikTok or Zoom or Facebook. So maybe flipping around and seeing a show that explores each of several different types of online virtual platforms as well. But yeah, I think that's my favorite pop culture thing. It's always going to default to that, Charlotte. It's always going to default to Beastie Boys. Um, uh, what is genre would you like to turn into? Yeah. Well, I mean, I love film noir. So for me, I think film noir is a great genre to base a show on. And I know it's been done before, but I also think like, well, just because it's been done before doesn't mean you can't do it. Too many times improvisers go, well, that's been done. And it's like, it's still improv, y'all. So if you want to do a film noir show, then do a film noir improv show. It's not like somebody has the ownership of a genre or style. So yeah, I definitely think that. I also like I personally love um doing shows like variety type shows. So I love vaudeville. So I think maybe doing like a stylized vaudeville type show would be super fun for an improv show right there. Hi, Mike. And thanks for that question, Charlotte. Mike, have you ever done a scene that was so transcendent of your partners, so good that you became a fan while performing? If so, can you recall? Oh, dude, I become a fan watching a ton of scenes that then you're in. And you're like, oh shoot, I'm in this scene. Um, so I mean, I when I perform in my two-person group with Bill Cott, I oftentimes am just marveled by what he can do because I just think he's so talented. And it's very hard when I improvise with people, it's very hard not to take a moment and because you are fans of them. So it is very hard to be like keeping yourself in the moment. It's okay. It happens. You know, at the end of the day, nobody really cares. But yeah, I think that's it. I think, I do remember one I did, which was with one, it might have been one of the first scenes I can remember doing that where I wasn't a student with, I don't even know if I did a scene with him, but I remember Dave Rosowski. Uh, he played in a Second City faculty jam with us, and I had Dave as a teacher. So he was my second improv teacher, Dave Rosowski, and we were doing a scene, and he was playing. I was a repairman, and he was like he was playing a woman. I think maybe was divorced or something, but I remember he tied his robe and he was drinking um, a drink and he had a little tiny swizzle stick and he was stirring it in a swizzle straw and drinking out of it. And I was just watching him do that. Like I could see it. I could see the care he took in the object work. I could see how delicately he tied the robe. And so I remember that where it was like, wow, it was just so good watching that that I had to like come back into reality because I was just I was like, wow, this is really pivotal to remember the importance of that object work. But it was like it was no question who, what gender he was playing. There was no question in what he had in his hand. There's no question in what he was drinking. So yeah, so that's one of the things that I remember right there. It was just the object work more than anything, and also the transformation. And I get that with watching a lot of people too. It's like watching them transform into these characters where you're like, wow, you're this fully fleshed out three-dimensional character that is not you. So there are times where that happens to me too. Hi, Gareth. Gareth in Copenhagen. Good to see you. Gareth uh, lent us a cabin, and when I was in Copenhagen, I went up there with I was married at the time, so my wife at the time and our two kids went to this cabin for Christmas. It was such a magical time. So thank you, Gareth. Such a kind person too. What's the most unusual suggestion I've ever had? Oh, Treaty of Ghent, the Treaty of Ghent, and it was in a rehearsal, and it was given by Phil Ahrensberg, and he had also given a suggestion of Cowper's gland. So both of those were given as part of a rehearsal for Comedy Sports Hours, and I remember like that I went and cracked open an encyclopedia and tried to find out what those both meant. And those suggestions really were inspiring because it was like, oh man, I have no idea what Treaty of Ghent means. And I've used Treaty of Ghent before as a suggestion to hopefully show people the suggestion, your knowledge of that should not preclude you from improvising. So it's like if you don't know the specifics of what the Treaty of Ghent was or what a Cowper's gland was, what do you do in those situations? So I'll never forget those. Those are just really two, yeah, those are two unusual ones brought to us by Phil Ahrensberg, a great friend of mine, an improviser, not improvising now, but could get in a scene with him and have done scenes with him. And he's just great. So yeah, those are two that were very much like super unusual. I also remember the first time, Gareth, I heard Brexit was a suggestion on stage, and I had not heard of Brexit before. And then I started reading up about it. I was like, oh wow, okay, this is gonna be a huge thing. Anki, hi. Anki's got a great Improv Shine podcast that she is doing, or vodcast, video podcast. So definitely tune into that. I was lucky enough to be the first guest on that. And it was so fun. And she's such a great teacher and performer right there. Yeah, I love Faulty Towers. It is just so, there's so many great bits about that show that still hold up. Ari, hi Ari. Speaking of great teachers and improvisers from Oslo, what's the first thing you look out for when you play with someone you've never played with before? Oh, I look for like their body language and I look in their eyes. I can even do it virtually on Zoom now too. You can still see that. And then another thing I look out for is like, oh, am I hearing them? Do I hear what they say? And I'm gonna jump in. I do it with whoever I play with, but definitely someone I've never played with before. I'm always really aware of, let me hear what they're saying before I respond to it. And it's something that's helped me in my play with people I also know, which is like, oh, before I respond, let me hear what they have to say. And then how can I make that look good? So that's probably the first thing I look out for is like, oh, are they, talking a lot? Are they not talking at all? Are they nervous? Are they happy? Like what are they coming out across as? And how can I help them and balance them and have them um, have as much fun as possible in the scene with me. And so I really that's something I really do when I've never played with anyone before. I look out for that, and I'm like, what state are they in? Are they high energy? Are they low energy? Like where are they? Let me match where I am to where they are. So let me find that and connect there. Mark Turpin, hi buddy, the mayor of improv right there. Yeah, Lindsay, online improv rocks. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's an opportunity for us to now meet and connect with so many more people. And my goal is that everyone on earth takes an improv class, at least just one. And so this virtual platform has allowed that to happen more quickly and more effectively and easier than if I was trying to teach in person in doing that. Also, I want to offer, connect other teachers as well and have them teach and do things virtually. So whatever I can do to help them with that. Chewy, who is your favorite? Serious question. Who is my favorite Chewy in improv? Oh man. Well, I mean, there's Chewbacca, the Wookiee. He doesn't, he doesn't say much, but when he does talk, it's a lot, and he's very powerful on stage. And he's definitely good. Uh, he's a good wingman. I think he also can shine direct, driving a scene, but like he really just kind of defaults a lot. But I do like playing with Chewy right there. Um, but yeah, I have a buddy. He's down in Austin, Texas, and his name is Chewy, and it's the guy who asked the question. I also I think he's just Chewy. I think you're very funny, and I think we do have a connection as well. And I'm going to message you about that because I think we might have talked about it, but I'm not sure. But I definitely feel like Chewy is one of those people, folks, that I never met until we did a 10-minute scene with, and we talked before the scene was the first time we had ever talked in person, and it was just like talking to an old friend. So when we got up there, the scene was just great. So yeah, Chewy, you're my favorite Chewy in improv by far. um Hi, Mayor Mark Turpin. When doing your 10 minutes with people from all around the world, do you notice a difference in improv styles from those, yeah, you play with? Absolutely. People who I played with in, let's say, in India, they tend to play status a lot more, which is super fun, in relationships a lot more. People I play with, who are on the East Coast of the United States, tend to play more game scenes, which I think is influenced. These are all influenced by their society, but also by people who've taught. So I noticed that. I noticed people in Europe when I first started playing with them had more of a tendency to play like relationshipy um, things, and I think that was a lot of training came from like IO or Second City, whereas on the East Coast of the United States, it's more like UCB, which is definitely like faster game of the scene. What's the unusual thing? Let's explore that. And so, yeah, I definitely think those are difference in styles. I think people who are of my generation, when I improvise with them, are more like take their time more and are more slower just because we were trained in that style, but doesn't mean we can't play fast. Like somebody like Brian Palermo or Craig Euler play very fast and they're very fun to play with. But yeah, I think definitely it's that. I think, the one thing is when I end up playing with people from all over the world, sometimes people think I know what I'm doing or I have the answer. or it should improvise the way I want to. And I don't. I like exploring the styles that other people play more so than like, here's what I do. I really want to adapt to what they bring to the table. So I think that definitely is something I notice as well, is like, oh, it's really fun to play with people who are bringing just their style to the game. And I think a lot of veteran improvisers or improvisers with experience will tell you that, of like, no, you play the way you play. We get excited playing with that energy, not defer it to us to know uh, what should happen, because we just don't care. We just don't know either, but we just don't care. We know we've got plenty of scenes left, and this one scene we're going to do is not going to make or break us. So why not have fun instead of feeling pressure to have the scene be good? Destroy that need for a good improv scene. You know, I've talked about it before. Tony Llewellyn said, "I release and destroy my need to do a good improv scene." And I'm like, once you do that, it gets a lot easier, and you start having more fun, I think, rather than like, oh, that scene could have been better. That scene, you start comparing things. And as we all know, comparison is the thief of joy. So if you start comparing your improv to other people's improv, or your style to somebody else's style, or you go like, oh, they do characters, I'm going to do characters. Like, once you start comparing that, or you go, why is that person getting recognition? I've been doing it as long as they have, or I'm as good as they're, that robs you. It's just a thief of joy. So when you can drop the comparison, even to like, oh, I did great in the show last week, but this week I didn't do good. It's like, well, hey, you've done 2 shows. Lucky for you. That's great. You're going to do more. So try not to compare yourself to other people or their styles. You know, there was a time where I was like, oh man, I watch friends of mine do these big, bold characters and dialects and accents and their vocal affectations. And I was like, I want to do that. Why can't I do that? And then, you know, it's not that I didn't try. I tried, but I couldn't sustain it because I was coming at it from the wrong place. I was trying to do the voice first and then the character. But once I gave that up and said, oh, I could just be different versions of me or heightened emotions, that's what worked for me, because I wanted to be able to sustain a character for a scene that could be 30 seconds or 2 hours. And so I stopped comparing myself to people like Bill Cott, you know, or Lauren Pritchard, or any of these people, or you know, like TJ Jagodowski, who can do different characters and they had their own style, or Paul Grandi, or any of these people. And once I started saying, hey, let me just embrace who I am, and yes, and myself a little bit in my own choices, and my choices, like I want to be fun, then that's fine. It became a lot easier for me. And I look at somebody like Harrison Ford. He plays Harrison Ford pretty much any movie he's in, and he's doing really good. Same with Cary Grant. In any movie he's in, he's Cary Grant. Audrey Hepburn. You know, they don't, you know, transform themselves into these characters. They're just versions of themselves. So I choose to do it that way. Um, so yeah, that's I do definitely notice a different in improv styles, and it's fun to me to be like, ooh, where are they? How can I get to where they are? I want to play in their sandbox. Yeah, Chewy, he is not. He's really good. Um, yeah, Mark, you got to change it. You are now mayor of improv, buddy. I love you, buddy. Love you, Chewy. See you soon, buddy. How do you get rid of the need to do a perfect scene? That's something I still really struggle with. Oh, Charlotte. Well, here's the thing: you're not alone. Everybody, when they at some point want to do a perfect scene, not everyone, most people, very few have that ability to not care about doing a perfect scene. Most of us want to do well. That's why when you're in a group game that's not going well in an improv show, it gets a lot more splintered, because you have, let's say the group has 5 people in it. You have 5 people trying to make that group seem good, and they're not connected. They're doing 5 different ideas, and you can't find the connection because they're all trying to do a good scene. They all trying to do a good show. But what we're looking at with that is like, well, why do we want to do a good perfect scene? Well, I think we want to do a good perfect scene because we think that's the answer. I think we think, and I love your thoughts too, but I think we think, oh, then that will, you know, allow me to become a good improviser, or that will be recognition that I'm a good improviser, or that I'm worthy, or anything like that. And in most of our life too, the perfection is what people strive for. You want to be perfect, you want to do it well, That's the thing. We think it's the end result, and it's not that. That's not what it's about. The whole point of doing this to me is that journey to a destination that is not there. There is no end destination. It's just constantly moving and momentum as you go. And sometimes you move forward and sometimes you move back, but you accept it right there. So maybe, I don't know, and put your thoughts in there as people are watching here, but like maybe to get rid of the need to do a perfect scene, it's like maybe replace that with the acceptance of the scene you're in and be like, oh, I'm going to do the best scene that I'm in right now, not what I think is a perfect scene or not even best scene. It's like, I'm just going to be in this moment. For me, if you replace the need to do a perfect scene with, I'm going to have fun, I think more of those things you're looking for actually um, will happen. So I think we want to do perfect scenes so then people what want to play with us or say we're good at what we do because we have a fear that we're not good at what we do. We have a fear that we're, the imposter syndrome that we shouldn't be here. We have a fear of all that stuff. We have a fear that we won't be asked to play again. We all have a fear that there's it's some sort of line we're in. We're in this improv line, and somebody else is going to jump in front of us, and we'll be moved to the back of the line. Well, that's just not true. Um, and you have to sit also with that conversation of what is a perfect scene to you. Like, I want to do a perfect scene. Well, what does that mean? What's your definition of perfection? And Charlotte, put that in the chat if you wouldn't mind. What's your definition of the perfect scene? Because that will maybe also help with your answer there of like the need to do the perfect scene. I think we're conditioned, especially, I can only talk from my point of view and being here in the United States, of you're conditioned to like you have to do it perfect. Perfect makes, practice makes perfect. Practice perfect makes perfect. You do it over and over again. There's an emphasis in school on math and facts, and so with facts, yeah, you can do something perfect. 2 + 2 is 4. That's a perfect answer to the equation 2 + 2. I got it right, and we want to get it right. But if we can let go of that need to get it right or do it perfect and play from more of a place of gratitude and appreciation, even a scene that goes terribly wrong and you didn't listen and it, you disconnected and it didn't land with the audience, anything like that, even those things, especially to have appreciation for, and the fact of, hey, I did it. We forget, Charlotte, that people are blown away by what we do as far as improvisers go. um, we what we do is very hard. It is. Getting up there with somebody with no script, you're very vulnerable. You're putting yourself in the hands of that person. Now, with the fact that you see my home and your home, so we're more vulnerable. Even with virtual backgrounds, you're still inviting people into your home. So you're still in your situation of your home. You've got pets running around, or some of us have kids or roommates or your parents or whatever it is. So that's distracting you as well. So the fact that you're able to get up there and do a scene with someone else where you have no script and you're on a high wire is, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. The content of the scene is irrelevant at times. My buddy Landon Kirksey, who's very an amazing teacher, very underrated as an improviser. He says he rarely gives notes on content of scenes. And his notes are always like, okay, well, let's look at that scene. Where did it stop being fun? And that's usually the point where it got hard. So I think um, being, letting go of that need. Oh, and Terry, thanks for that. It's being judged by the other improvisers. Well, remember, Terry, yes and means no judgment, right? Defer judgment, no judgment. So if you're being judged by other improvisers, then you're just not around the right improvisers, and they can judge. I mean, you can't stop them from doing that, right? And Rosowski has said, "What you think of me is none of my goddamn business." And I like that attitude of like, "Hey, what you think of me, none of my business. People are going to judge me. People are not going to like me." But now with what's happening virtually, I can choose who I want to play with, unless I'm in a class, and then it's whoever can afford to or can be in the class, or shows up. I can't choose that, but I can now start making positive choices to be with people I like playing with and to be in those scenes. So make the choice, Charlotte and Terry and everyone watching, make that choice to play with people who want to play with you. I spent um, a long time at a theater in Chicago, where I never felt like I belonged. And I was part of the decision making process for the artistic side of that building. And I was trying to convince people to play with me or to play the way I thought it should be played. And that was wrong on me. Instead of going in there saying, I'm just grateful to be playing, I was very nervous. I thought, I want the approval of these people so much. They had a thing on their wall, a sign on the wall that said, "Thank you for the people who helped build this theater over the past 25 years." And my name wasn't on it. I had gone through that theater when I was younger, took a break, and then I went back, and I'm like, I'm gonna get my name on that wall. But that was the wrong reason to go back, and they did not. I had no right to ask for that. And they didn't have to put me on their wall. Like, that's their wall. Who fucking cares? But it was my ego. And so I was so afraid. So fear and ego, where it's a bad combination right there. And then you add that to like comparison, and like, why am I not like this person, or why don't they like me? Like, people aren't just gonna, some people just aren't gonna like us. So if you can sit there and you know try to destroy that need to do good improv scene. And Terry, you don't, people can think of you whatever they want. You don't have to take it on. That's the thing. Like, people can say about my improv, some people don't like it. Some people don't like that I'm positive. They think there needs to be conflict and they just don't get, okay, that's fine. Now, this took me, I've been doing this almost 30 years and I still struggle with it. And I still struggle with the imposter syndrome. Every time before I teach a class, I still have to check myself, because I'll say, like, this is the class, they find out you're a fraud. And I have to go, no, just stop that. Go into this class and have as much focus on the moment and have as much fun as possible. So I think if you replace good with fun, I'm going to have fun. And it's with the audience, it's with the other improviser. It's not at the expense of them, it's included with them. Find your fun with them. I think all that other stuff takes care of itself. So yeah. Um, and yeah, I it's like, it sucks being judged by other improvisers when we have we have a pact, and our first thing we learned is yes and, which means I hear you and I'm adding to you. And that's the issue I have with improvisers at times, is like, are you building on their idea, or are you bringing your idea to the table? But if we discover this stuff together and build it together, and we treat each other with respect, and we play to the height of our intelligence, then the things that have been an issue in improv won't be there, because we're not focused on that. We're focused on each other, supporting them, bringing yourself to the table to find that spot together. And if we're both doing that in a two-person scene, it works out pretty well. So yeah, I hope that helps, Charlotte. And I love the comments people are giving in the chat there. Hi, Jason Hayter. I very much relate to a blocker on big, bold characters and accents. It's easier if I'm peas in a pod with other, but on my own, I'm most comfortable being a version of me. Jason, that's, I mean, to me, it's like, there are no characters. They're all versions of you. So one thing that's helped me that you might help you is like, just be you in different emotional states. Or if somebody's like feeling lonely, like, think about amplifying that, like, be 1,000 times lonely, not just lonely. So like, you take what they do and then boom, go big with it, make a big choice. But yeah, I think also, like, accents and dialects are very tricky. They're very, very tricky to do and pull off. Especially in the situation we're in now, we're starting to see that, like, hey, maybe we don't need to do it. And too many times accents have been punchlines. Like, don't make them punchlines. Play these characters. My friend Amy Gerlich says, I ask her, because she plays characters that are like just wonderfully like on the fringes of society, and she goes, I play characters always smarter than me. So I encourage everyone to do that. It's like, no matter what dialect or accent or affectation, just play them smarter than you. See how that goes for a little bit. Yeah, exactly, Gareth. The audience enjoys themselves. They always do. And they sit there and they can't believe you're doing it. They're like, you didn't. Most of the time, they even think it's scripted. Even the bad improv, they think we spent time writing, rehearsing, and learning lines for that improv. So I think too many times we get nervous with silence, or and Charlotte, this goes back to your question, like, we want that approval. And with things, the way things are with social media, we judge our worth on how many likes a photo gets, how many comments, and things like that. So we want the same from an audience. And when they don't give us the applause right away, the laughter stuff, we're like, okay, we gotta get more desperate to get it. And we become more desperate. It's like, or you can let that desperation go, and just enjoy the moment. But it's a muscle. It takes time. Um, uh, Yeah. So I hope that helps. Charlotte, I know it's partially rooted in my perfectionist behaviors and people pleasing tendencies. Oh, Charlotte, I'm with you on that one. I agree. I can connect. I mean, I can relate. I also think that because when you first start improv, there's all these rules and following that are those that are always floating around the back of my mind, even though I know they don't matter. Yeah, for sure. You have to disconnect the emotion and the intellect. It's like, it doesn't matter, but emotionally, right? But like emotionally, you feel like you're breaking the rules for sure. That's why these are like I think they're rules. No, they're tools. They're tools, not rules. So I think if teachers and folks in improv can start reiterating that and say, these aren't rules, these are tools to help you. So yeah, I admire improvisers who just fearlessly jump into scenes even without having an idea for a scene and have that attitude of almost reckless abandon, if that makes sense. Absolutely, Charlotte. It does make sense. And if I can say, you do that. I've played with you before and I've watched you play. You jump into scenes with reckless abandon. It's just you're comparing what you think other people, what their style is, to your own, and instead of being, just for me, being grateful for the style I play and accepting that style has helped me. So yeah, so you jump in with reckless abandon. I mean, every improv scene starts with reckless abandon. It's like sometimes we feel people jump into it more than us. It's just different degrees of confidence. Fake confidence or real confidence, there's no difference. It's the same thing. So one thing that maybe, what you could try to do moving forward is like, call somebody up that you trust, like Stephanie, and say, hey, can we do a scene? Don't even put it online. Just, don't broadcast it. Just get in a scene and say, like, can I do 5 scenes in a row where I'm just jumping in the scene with reckless abandon? And then just try it and see if it works for you. And like, I've tried things and I'm like, okay, cool. That doesn't work for me. I see other people do it. That's great. Like I watched Jamie Moyer. Jamie Moyer's somebody who I'm just sometimes I sit in the scene and just watch her. I think she's hilarious. She goes in real big with a lot of stuff and she does that. But I've learned what works for me is to be appreciative of people who play like that, not to have to myself play like that. Just to be like, oh, how do I like playing? Let me amplify and heighten that and then be open for things. And then sometimes it's like, oh, sometimes you're able to do those at certain points in your improv journey. You can jump in and do big characters, and sometimes you can't. And sometimes you try, but you fail. But it's like just keep moving forward on what makes it fun for you. Yeah, Gareth, exactly. Enjoy yourself in front of an audience. Also, enjoy yourself with the audience. I have seen scenes, and I've been guilty of this myself, where it's like, oh, we're having this enjoyable scene at the expense of the audience and our fellow players. So don't forget to enjoy yourself with the audience and with your fellow players. I've talked about Scott Goldstein before, and he and I can go on a rant and run doing, naming all the baseball players in the 1974 Oakland Athletics, but that's at the expense of the audience and the expense of our teammates at times. So we've had to learn how to balance that out. Even though it's fun for the two of us, it's not fun for anyone else. Hi, Shirley. Who inspired me the most when learning improv? Thank you for that. Well, I mean, definitely my classmates. I had people like Ed Dassey, Bob Dassey, Liz Allen, Judy Fabjans, Joey Bloom. Like we would sit and play, and that really inspired me. My teachers inspired me. Everyone from Stephen Colbert to Dave Rosowski, Steve Carell. Um, I had a guy named John Holtzen who taught me a lot about doing sketch and acting. Del Close, Keith Johnstone. And I've had teachers like, Rebecca Sohn, Susan Messing. I've even people like that are people I play with also are very inspiring to me. I remember watching, who's really inspiring is like watching Amy Sedaris on stage because I was like, how does she think the things she thinks? And she was just so fun and silly and playful. So she was very inspiring to me. I think it was a combination of a bunch of people. I don't think it's one, Shirley. I think it's just a whole bunch of people. Maybe, actually, maybe if there was like a gun to my head and I had to pick one, Martin DeMott is the person probably who inspired me the most when I was learning improv and to this day. Martin DeMott is someone who, he said if the world took an improv class, if everyone took an improv class, the world would be a better place. He's someone who said, let's make this scene about more than just the suggestion of the ashtray. He's somebody who said, um, uh, He's someone who said, no, be good at what you do, be competent, embrace it. Nobody's going to follow anyone who has a sign that says onward toward mediocrity. So Martin DeMott probably is the guy. And he would, until he passed away, every moment he was trying to get everyone to take an improv class. And so he's been very, very inspiring on my journey. And I didn't have him as a teacher that often, but you can tell that like having just a brief interaction with someone can ripple out. And so he's someone that to me, it's like very inspiring. So it's probably him. Um, Hi, Terry. I live in a small town with two theaters. Yeah, Terry, exactly. When you get in a small town with two or three or one improv theater, for some reason, those theaters become very territorial. And you're either this person or you're that person. If you perform with us, you can't perform with the other theater. Like it's our style is the one style. And that's, I think, a way that they think they need to have that philosophy to keep their business going. So they have to be very territorial. So yeah, Terry, Zoom is so much better. And when the pandemic subsides, I'm still going to lead the charge to doing Zoom improv. So keep that in mind moving forward. Is like Zoom to me is not going to end. It's going to continue. And so hopefully that, and I know some other folks as well, like my buddy Bill Cott was talking about the same thing. Katie and Chris in the UK, they're doing online improv. So I think a lot of folks are seeing this as a perfectly wonderful, viable option. And I want people to have fun doing improv and support each other and find that support and love. And I want to be somebody who helps with that. Um, Yay, Charlotte. Yes, good to see you. Thank you. Velvet, reckless abandon is a wild ride. It sure is. Velvet, one of those people that amazing. He sat there and he was part of this Everyone Get In Here festival, and I think he's one of the people that is really starting to get a nice recognition for what he does and what he brings to improv right here. So Velvet, good to see you. Great singer too, amazing improviser, singer, so musical improviser, I think is what I should say. Um, Oh, Shirley, thank you. You inspire me too. Really, like I watch people like Shirley get up there, and it's just like, wow, they just jump into it. I think we see, and this goes for Charlotte too. We see you and what you truly are more than you do, because as humans, we love the negative about ourselves, and the humans are always about protecting. That's what the ego is. The ego, your brain, all your brain wants to do is protect you from dying. So it always looks at things from a critical angle. So listen to your heart more than your mind in an improv scene. Hey, Drew, I just did a scene with Drew, and it was like that scene could have gone on forever. It was so easy to play with him. Improv reinforces aspects of my life like empathy, absolutely. Active listening, for sure. And being in the moment, absolutely, man. Are there any aspects of improv you've learned and integrated into your daily life? I think those, you've hit three of the huge ones, man. I think also assuming positive intent for me, and it took me a while until I looked at things like, oh, more positive. But I think having a positive outlook for sure, being more grateful, looking at the similarities in people, acknowledging who they are and the wonderful uniqueness that they bring to the stage and to the scene, but also finding the connections and the commonalities. I think improv has helped me with that ton. But I think you're right. Empathy, active listening, being in the moment are huge parts of it. But it's also like working with a group. How do I find my place in the group? How do I have my brain or how do I have my voice be heard in this group? So I think that's definitely something that's helped me as well. Hi, Bob. Yes. Oh, Margot. Hi, Margot. Speaking of great improvisers, hosts a wonderful Margot Escott hosts a wonderful podcast. We talk about no mistakes, but what's a mistake in improv? Well, I mean, I think a mistake in improv isn't like a mistake on stage. I think it's stuff off stage. So, and it could be on stage, like talking over someone, demanding your agenda, demanding you be heard. And these are just for me, Margot, selling out what's happening for a joke, not listening to your partner. Those are all mistakes, so those are more like not content things. To me, a mistake in improv is sometimes when you're in a space not reading what the room is. I think not including people. Sometimes a mistake is, oh, we haven't let this person's voice be heard. Are we all here? I think those are also mistakes in improv. I think not delivering sometimes on a promise of what you set the audience up with where it's like, oh, we're going to do a comedy show. And then we decide to do a show that, is argumentative or doesn't have any fun in place when we've told the audience we're going to have a fun show. So I think those are mistakes as well. I think like not respecting each other, not respecting the audience or the suggestion is a huge mistake in improv. So I think those are just some of them, not being inclusive, not making changes, not evolving as you continue to go, not going, oh, we don't need to do that anymore. We might have been doing that in the past. We need to move forward and not do that. I think that's another mistake in improv. I think also putting down uh, other styles might be a mistake because it's like the fact anybody knows about improv, we should be celebrating for that. So yeah, I think those are just off the top of my head some mistakes. Hey Bob, when you're in a social setting with non-improvisers, they find out what you do. How do you respond to the inevitable? How do you respond to the inevitable? Cool, do improv. Well, I say we're doing it right now. That's usually my response. If someone says, tell me a joke, I might say, oh, that's a little bit different than what I do. What I do is I might get a suggestion and create something in the moment that we don't have planned or rehearsed. And I said, most of the conversations you have in your life are improvised. Like you might have an idea of what you're doing or going into it with, but uh, you have no idea how that other person can react. I might also be like, oh, is this an opportunity for me to get them to take an improv class? Because I'm always looking for that too. But I might say, yeah. I might also go like, okay, cool, give me a suggestion, pencils, and I might do a short monologue. I don't know. It just depends on the situation. So when somebody says cool, do improv, it might be that as well. I think there are several things. It just depends on the moment right there. If I'm in like a dinner situation, and it's not time, I don't feel like it's time to do a performance, then I might just explain what we're doing. So yeah, I hope that helps. Yeah, Velvet, glad more people are going to continue to stay online with us. Absolutely. And Velvet's another person, Velvet teaches as well as performs. So he's doing some cool stuff with like singing, like kind of like improvised songs. And that's something you can see online. And I think that really has been very helpful and fun to watch too. How is it? Philip, I'm just a mirror, buddy. You're the magical one. Philip does some really cool, funny stuff online. He does a Philoween, which like every Halloween, it's just great. And I've done a couple of things online with Philip, and we did a scene together. I've done one with Philip and Vanessa Anton in San Diego. And I love the fact that he's just such a joyful person. And that to me makes me want to play with him again. So if you're joyful and you have fun playing, I definitely, that's something where it's very attractive, and an audience is attracted to that too, right? Yes, Velvet, you deserve all the joyful adjectives. James Marsh, hi James. He was a student of mine at Second City in Chicago. Yeah, dude, I heard it just got 9 inches of snow. Oh boy, welcome to Chicago, buddy. And then Lauren O'Malley, who was in our class, um, she was part of that class. She just moved, I think, to Ireland. I think she just moved there. What advice for a group seeking a coach? How to interview? Would an all-woman group necessarily need a woman coach? I don't know. I think you, as the group, it is definitely you should ask the coach and talk to the coach. Like just as a group, talk about like what are important things for us. What are we looking to get out of a coach? And for some groups, they might be like, "Hi, we're group X. We have no idea what we need to look for in a coach. So can you tell us about your experience or like what's your philosophy of improv or something like that?" It's more of just a conversation I feel like you have with your coach. Does it need to be necessarily a woman coach, a female coach? Well, no, but that's just my opinion. It's up to the group. So that's something that might be important too. An all female group, an all woman, you know, woman group might say we want a woman as our coach. Okay, like it's what the group decides to me. Um, how do you balance? Hi, Velvet. How do you balance community, nurturing, supporting, and paying the bills? Yeah. Well, here's what I say, Velvet. Value your time and your experience, and pick and choose what you do. I have this. Um, I have it right next to me. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna bring it down here. It's something that my friend Sherry Flanders put up, and it is let's see if you can see that. How to say, you see that right there? How to say sorry, I'm not doing that for free. So Thank you for thinking of me. This sounds like a great fit, but can I just check whether this is a paid opportunity? This sounds like such an interesting project. Here's a link to the current services I offer. So I think these are four really great ways that you can tell people. And I think like you also say, hey, this is what I'm worth. Like I won't do it for this amount. It took me a long time to say that. Here's what we do as improvisers, most of us. We say like this, oh, my rate is $30 an hour or not or free or whatever. Like we don't even allow that to hit. So I think you sit there. My advice is like sit back and say, okay, what is my time worth? What is my rate? How much am I charging an hour? What does that entail? And you can also just put a rate card together and say, let me send you a rate card. Then it's kind of non-negotiable, right? You're like, here's what my rate is. So uh yeah, so I think like I think that's it. I think you absolutely, look at this like this is your career. This is not a glorified hobby. And this is for me, this is my career. And some people might say, like, oh, you shouldn't get paid or this and that. Is like, cool. I might be able to also refer you to people who will pay $5 a head to teach an improv class for you. There are times where I might teach it for free. Like I do some volunteer work where I work with organizations and I might teach free classes, but that's my choice because I want to give back in that way. But for you, I don't think there's anything saying, here's what I'm worth. If you don't want to pay it, that's cool. And sometimes I've said to groups, well, what is your budget? And I might go, okay, I can work with that. Or I might say, no, I can't. I'm sorry. Well, I wouldn't say sorry. I'd say, no, I can't. But thank you for asking. And I can recommend you someone who might fit that budget, but you shouldn't feel bad for what you're worth. So I think you find that balance right there. Once they started saying I'm worth this much, it's amazing, Velvet. Those opportunities started happening more than if I go, I don't know, I'm worth, $5 a head. I just can't do $5 a person for a rehearsal. But that's me. I have a standard rate and it's like, well, here's my rate. And it's very hard to announce what your rate is and then not say anything, but let people know what your rate is and then just stick with it. And you can always say, oh, okay, I'll work within your budget, or you can say, nope, it's worth that because you're bringing your time to it. Even virtually, you have to design what the rehearsal is going to be, your experience of giving feedback or notes, what you want them to work on, the vision you have to help with achieving that for them. Like there's a lot of things that go into play with this. And you're good at what you do. It's like here in the States, you go to a salon when they're open and a newer hairdresser will charge less than the experienced one or the one whose name is on the business. So yeah, find out what think about what you're worth because you're worth it, man. Yeah, exactly, Margot, you're worth it. And sometimes you go, I'm going to offer a class for this. And then it's like, oh man, one person shows up or two. Are you still going to teach the class? For me, I'm like, oh, I still teach the class and I'd spin it, which I always do of like, this is a more on like a private one-on-one thing. And you're getting, this coaching, which is usually X amount, you're getting it for this amount because it was originally supposed to be a class, but now it's just the two or three of us. Great. Let's continue and move on. I don't like to position things like, oh, there's only two of us here. Oh, well, it's like, no, that's good. And sometimes also like for me with a corporate situation, I might say, tell me what your project is. Let me think about it. I'll come back to you with a rate. If I don't have a rate in mind, I might do that and be like, let me come back to you with that. Anyway, great. Thank you for asking that, Velvet. And thank you everyone so much for tuning in. Really great to see everyone. Happy Monday, y'all. And again, congratulations to David and Monica Escobedo for their upcoming child, brand new improviser entering into the world. And congratulations to all of the people involved, whether you were part of the organizing committee or part of running things or a participant or just shared information about the Everyone Get In Here Festival. What a great festival. And congratulations to the success of that. I know a lot of hard work went into that. I always laugh when people are like, I'm going to do an improv festival. It's like, oof, you talk about working, but it was such an important part of our history and moving forward. It's huge. So thank you everyone who put your time and effort into that. Great to see everyone. Have a great rest of your Monday. And in the States here, it's Black History Month. So happy start of Black History Month. Have a great rest and safe day. Bye, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.